Blaxploitation movies, group of films made mainly in the early to mid-1970s that featured black actors in a transparent effort to appeal to black urban audiences. Junius Griffin, then president of the Beverly Hills chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, is sometimes credited with inventing the somewhat ambiguous term blaxploitation to describe the short-lived genre. Melvin Van Peebles's Sweet Sweetback's Baddish song, 1971, is usually considered to be the first of many black-themed movies that would present a new film image of African Americans. During the first half of the decade, more than 200 movies of that type that broke existing film stereotypes by presenting self-possessed black men, and occasionally women, notably Pam Grier, in control of their own destinies were made, in genres including horror, notably Blacula, 1972, westerns, Buck and the Preacher, 1972, comedy, Watermelon Man, 1970, drama, Baby Needs a New Pair of Shoes, 1974, and, by far the most popular subgenre, action, Shaft, 1971. But from the outset, African American critics found the stereotypes made possible by the behaviors of the heroes and heroines of the films, which often included drug dealing, violence, and easy sex, to be the most pervasive and damaging effect of the movies. Also damaging was the absence of a black cultural aesthetic. Studios received much criticism for their careless eagerness to cash in on the blaxploitation trend, but the most stinging indictment was reserved for the actors and actresses who contributed to the offending stereotypes by playing pimps, prostitutes, street hustlers, drug dealers, and other unsavory types. Three prominent actors of the era were Fred Williamson, Jim Brown, who became an actor after retiring from professional gridiron football, and Ron O'Neal. Because they accepted such roles, many prominent African Americans, such as Harvard psychiatrist Alvin Poisson and Jesse Jackson, challenged them to consider the sort of role models that they were presenting to the black community, especially to more impressionable minds. O'Neal, for example, in the role of drug kingpin Priest in Gordon Parks, Jr.'s highly successful Superfly, 1972, came under scrutiny for depicting Priest as a cool, sophisticated, stylish man who was popular with women, lived in plush comfort, drove the latest model car, and wore his cocaine spoon as a fashion accessory. Ebony writer B.J. Mason was not the only critic to assert that Superfly was a scandal. That movie and similar blaxploitation movies had an undeniable impact on African Americans coming of age in the 1970s. In response to criticism, studios and directors defended blaxploitation movies by saying that they were simply fulfilling audiences' demands. A good portion of those movies also represented studios' efforts to target what was for them a new market, African Americans. It must be noted that before the blaxploitation era, black actors rarely had leading roles in widely distributed films. With the arrival of the genre, they often could choose their roles, and frequently the storylines were built around their respective characters. Yet because the strength and independence of the leading roles played to offensive stereotypes, the genre remained a point of contention in the early 21st century.